Don't let anything stop you. Take your seats. It's about to start quickly. But just so you know, we're going to take it easy. Nothing will slow down the passing of time. Because today, we're going to try to increase our perceived lifespan without actually living longer. Let me explain. Time is relative. In 1975, Nicholas Nixon started taking a photo of his 4 sisters every year at the same time. In 36 photos, Nicholas captured the passage of time. And his work unintentionally reminds me of those vacations that are always too short, of those moments of joy that sometimes seem to slip through our fingers, of those passionate moments that are over too quickly. Strangely, from the first to the last shot, in 36 years, the same amount of time has passed as it takes for 3 drops of pitch to fall. A substance that appears solid and can be broken with a hammer, but acts like a liquid over long periods. In 1927, a scientific experiment began that is still ongoing today, and it consists of studying the viscosity of this astonishing substance. And in 80 years of observation, only 7 drops have fallen into the funnel, with an average wait of 13 years between 2 drops. A length of time that surely felt shorter for a grey-haired researcher than for a child, a teenager, or even a young doctoral student. Compare people aged 60 to 80 with young adults aged 19 to 24 by asking both groups to estimate 3 minutes without a clock. Researchers then recorded their results. The youngest group estimated 3 minutes lasted about 3 minutes and 3 seconds on average, whereas the people in the oldest group took an average of 3 minutes and 40 seconds to estimate that 3 minutes had passed. We could have guessed this because we all experience it. As we get older, our subjective perception of the passage of time seems to speed up. The older you get, the faster the hours seem to fly by. But where does this feeling of acceleration come from? One explanation could be the slowing down of the speed at which information travels in the brain. It's as if, with age and the gradual decline of our internal biological clock, we keep a slower tempo. As a result, it creates the illusion that the passage of time is speeding up slightly, so we don't all experience the same minutes. And at 50, whether or not you have a Rolex, the nerve signals in your brain travel more slowly than they did at 20. Our mental stopwatches get tired as we age. Our method of measuring durations based on our neurons' natural rhythm would change. Our perception of time appears tied to the brain's energy use. An amount of energy that is at its maximum in children around the age of 5, at a time in life when everything is new, and when 66% of resting energy is consumed by our brain. This could give younger children the impression that time passes more slowly. And this might be one of the reasons why, when we're little, waiting can feel unbearable. Some researchers believe that the slowing down of our mental activity should also be compared to that of our metabolism, which also slows down over the years. As we age, our breathing and heartbeat slow, with elderly people averaging about 65 beats per minute. This makes it feel like everything around us moves faster. Whereas the supercharged heart rate of children may give them the illusion of time stretching out. The little heart of a 2-year-old child beats at an average of 110 beats per minute at rest. Another way to think about why time feels longer for children is to see durations in proportion to how much life they've already lived. And to imagine that the perception of long-term time is based solely on the proportion of your age. For a 2-year-old, a year represents half of their life. But if you're 10 years old, a year only represents 10% of your life. From this point of view, waiting 24 days until Christmas for a 5-year-old is like waiting a year when you're 76. And if we keep following this somewhat quirky logic, then for a person living up to 100 years, half of their perceived life would be around 7 years old, which is absurd. Today, there is still no way for us to regain the mental sharpness or the heart of our youth. So how can we increase the duration of our perceived time? Well, one technique is to avoid routine and repetition. To prove it, let's play a game. A series of images will appear on the screen. You will simply have to estimate how long each of them stayed on the screen. Let's go. If you're like most people, when asked which of these images seem to stay on the screen the longest, there's a good chance you'll answer the turtle. Yet, as strange as it may seem, all the images were displayed for exactly the same amount of time. If the turtle seems to have stayed longer, it's because our brain had to spend more energy to distinguish it. It wasn't anticipated, it was unexpected. This little experiment shows us that our perception of time speeds up with repetition and slows down with disruption. Destabilized by the unknown, our brain was somehow forced to become more present. By shaking up the routine, we artificially slow down the clock. The problem is that as we age, as we grow older and gain experience, life's surprises become rarer. Fewer things spark new emotions, fewer first kisses, fewer first nights out. And then, routine creeps in insidiously. The years start to look alike, the familiar environments where we feel less stimulated, the same places, the same encounters, and less of that feeling of something new. All of this makes time feel like it goes by faster. The emotional intensity of our daily life is affected by routines and habits, because in this life that has become more predictable, our mind somehow allows itself to switch to autopilot. Our experienced adult brain saves as much energy as possible when performing these tasks that it somehow knows by heart. It forms fewer rich, detailed memories and disconnects from the present. And our mind wanders more easily. As a result, our subjective sense of time speeds up. Subtitles. Society for children. Everything is new, stimulating, and unfamiliar. The world is full of new experiences to live, and their brain is intensely engaged in the present moment, constantly having to focus, learn, and discover the world. From this point of view, in a way, growing old means stopping looking at the world through a child's eyes. And one solution to slow down the ticking hand, to trick our perceived time, would be to derail our daily routine. But that's not the only one, because to make an hour feel longer, you can also play at scaring yourself. To show that time really does slow down during a frightening or unpleasant event, researchers had people with arachnophobia stare at spiders for 45 seconds. And the result is clear. The perceived time of the unfortunate volunteers was always much longer than the actual duration of the experiment. And this impression of slow motion, of time stretching out, is also experienced during free fall or bungee jumping. Jumping into the void for the first time makes a few seconds of fear and excitement feel like an endless minute. As demonstrated by another experiment, which focused on the time dilation one can experience during a fall of more than 30 meters that ends safely in a net. In this experiment, participants later perceived the fall as lasting 36% longer than it actually did. But this long time experienced is not necessarily the time of the event itself. It's also the time of memory. The time of memories that can play tricks on you. Like seeing your life flash before your eyes lets you pick up a pencil and return with notes. Marked by the event, the rich and intense memory of the fall would leave an imprint in us, thus creating through memory the illusion of an even longer time. Afterwards, if you don't want to stretch out your perceived time by bungee jumping or going to the dentist, an alternative solution would be to slip into the skin of small animals. Researchers are interested in the critical fusion threshold of flicker in various species. That is, the moment when successive flashes of light seem to merge together and the light source appears constant. In other words, you turn a light on and off faster and faster until the point where the species is no longer able to perceive the succession of day and night, and everything seems continuously lit. Comparing critical fusion thresholds in animals shows that, generally, smaller animals have faster metabolisms. The more it is able to process visual information, the slower time should seem to pass for it, and the shorter its life will be in absolute terms, meaning it will die young. It has been shown that a fly's nervous system can process 4 times more visual information per second than ours, and we can assume that these insects see us moving at the speed of arthritic sloths. The flicker fusion threshold of a turtle, with its slow metabolism and long life expectancy, is 1/3 that of a human. And there is a good chance that these seemingly phlegmatic creatures perceive the world as a ballet of over-energized species. In short, the rhythm of visual perception is not the same depending on the species. Some insects live only one day, but for them, it's the best day of their lives. And I can't help but think that the time perceived by a spider forced to stare at arachnophobes is surely longer than the time felt by those same arachnophobes. So let's set the record straight. The workings of our internal clocks are still far from being understood, and Kronos' tactics have yet to reveal all their secrets. For example, it was recently discovered that in humans, a state of depression can strangely increase the ability to perceive time accurately. And this perception can speed up when body temperature rises and slow down when it drops. And what perception of time do millennia-old trees have, which have no neurons, no heart, no eyes, and no brain? Are we, to them, swarming insects moving at full speed? There is only one certainty to extend your lifespan without relying on medicine, to subjectively live longer. Avoid repetition, vary your emotions, surroundings, and encounters, live in the present like children, keep your senses alert, step out of your comfort zone, and immerse yourself in the unknown to discover new things. Because that's the paradox. While intense moments may seem shorter at the time, they actually allow you to capture time. And it's the guarantee that you'll have a bunch of memories later on to bring out and enjoy whenever you want. Or you could combine all of that and go skydiving while locked in a plugged-in fridge in the company of a dentist and a spider. And preferably, have this experience while you're in a state of depression during your early childhood. I hope this video felt brief. Until next time, keep smiling so your wrinkles end up in the right places. Making videos takes us a lot of time. If you like our work and to help us keep going in the future, you can support us on TP so that, who knows, one day we might be able to make a living from it.